The big brick shelter on Maple Street held many dogs, but one cage at the far end felt as tense as a storm cloud. Inside that cage paced a massive German shepherd named Brutus, whose amber eyes flashed warnings like tiny sparks whenever anyone dared look his way. Staff had tried snacks, toys, and gentle words, yet Brutus snarled and lunged at every hand, metal bowl, or mop that slid too near the bars. Even seasoned trainers backed away, whispering stories of bites from their past, convinced this dog carried only anger in his heart. Brutus arrived after a night raid when neighbors called police about a growl that rattled windows and scared the whole block awake. Officers found him chained in a yard full of broken glass, his coat matted and skin raw with a heavy collar cut in. Freedom should have felt sweet, but he read every new face as another threat, and fear poured from him like steam from boiling water. Volunteers posted signs saying, "Do not touch," and most guests hurried by, eager to meet friendlier pets wagging for attention. Some children tried tossing him biscuits, only to see them land untouched, crumbs gathering like lonely snow at his feet. The shelter director marked his file with a bright red stamp that meant high risk, a label no dog ever wore with pride. Each night the lights dimmed, and Brutus's growls echoed down the concrete hallway, making other dogs tuck tails in uneasy silence. Sleep for him came in short bursts, broken by memories of chains clinking and shouted commands that never offered praise. Workers wondered how long they could keep a dog no one dared to walk, bathe, or even pat without thick gloves. A quiet talk about last resort spread like cold wind, and the calendar pages seemed to flap louder each morning near his cage. Still, the morning sun kept crawling across the dirty floor, and Brutus kept pacing the same hard path until his paws felt flat. The world outside his bars turned into distant noise, and he learned to live only in the small shape of fear around him. He lost the habit of hope, trading it for bitter routine, and his once proud ears drooped under the weight of endless alarm. Some days he stared at the exit door, as if marking every face that stepped through, certain none would dare open his. The shelter felt sadder because of him, yet no one could blame the dog. His past was written in every scar on his body. And so Brutus waited, a living storm cloud rumbling in a lonely cage, untouched and untouchable, until a little girl walked in. Lily was 8, with sun-sprinkled freckles and boldness earned from reading stacks of heroic comics. She arrived clutching a stuffed rabbit whose ears were chewed by her old pup, who had died months earlier, leaving a hole kindness hoped to fill. Her dad volunteered at the shelter on weekends, fixing doors and weighing feed bags, while Lily drew happy pet pictures for the adoption board. That Saturday, curiosity tugged her feet past the friendly kennels until she met the sign that warned everybody else away from Brutus's cell. Instead of fear, Lily felt deep pity, as if the dog's lonely sound waves wrote a letter only her heart could read. She stood far enough to stay safe, but close enough for Brutus to catch the crayon scent lingering on her fingers. The dog lowered his head, expecting the usual retreat, yet Lily's eyes held steady like calm water under moonlight. Without speaking, she sat cross-legged on the cold concrete floor, letting silence become an invitation, not a threat. Minutes slid by. The hallway buzzed with other visitors, yet she stayed, softly humming a tune her grandma once played on an old piano. Brutus's ears twitched at the gentle melody, unsure why it sounded different from the harsh clangs he normally heard. Lily finally whispered, "Hi, big guy," in a voice softer than tissue paper, and the words drifted through the bars like paper boats. The German shepherd froze, nostrils quivering, as if testing whether that whisper carried hooks of danger. He found none. She slid the rabbit through the tray slot, then pulled her hand back to show she knew the rules. A low growl bubbled inside Brutus but never broke free. Instead, he sniffed the toy, puzzled by the cotton scent of comfort. Lily grinned, seeing curiosity drain a little fear, and she counted that as a victory bigger than any comic book battle. Her dad called, but she begged for one more minute, promising to draw extra pictures for the bulletin later. Before leaving, she told Brutus she would return tomorrow, words that sounded like sunlight even in that shadowy hall. The dog watched her walk off, old chains of memory rattling, yet something warm pressed against them from within. For the first time since police cut his collar, Brutus blinked without a snarl, wondering why the air smelled faintly of hope. And in that brief wonder, a crack opened in the wall around his heart, wide enough for a rabbit-eared promise to squeeze through. The next morning, Lily woke early, packed a pocket full of broken pretzels, and asked her dad to drop her at the shelter before soccer practice. Brutus noticed her the second she stepped inside, his ears flicking toward the door like twin radar dishes tuning in a favorite station. Lily moved slow, never turning her back on him, but she carried an air of calm that wrapped the hall in invisible velvet. She sat again, this time reading aloud from a comic where the hero turned an enemy into an ally using only patience and truth. The steady rhythm of her voice brushed his fears like a comb through knots. Halfway through the chapter, she rolled a single pretzel piece near the bar. It stopped within reach, and she waited without blinking. The dog stared, muscles tense, then nudged the treat with his nose before eating it, chewing with puzzled care. Staff watching from the office window gasped in unison, as if fireworks had bloomed silently over the kennel. Lily offered a second piece, and Brutus accepted faster, tail giving one uncertain wag, like a rusty hinge learning movement. Encouraged, she slid the stuffed rabbit closer again. Brutus rested a paw on it, not possessive, simply gentle. The director stepped forward with a leash, but Lily shook her head, saying, "Not yet, trust builds one brick at a time." Those words settled on the grown-ups like new instructions printed on ancient maps they thought they knew. Every day that week Lily returned, reading, humming, and timing each small step. First touch toy, then touch gate, then touch her hand. By Friday, Brutus allowed her fingers to scratch behind his ear through the bars, and his eyes half closed like a sleepy student's. The little girl kept sentences short and clear, knowing big feelings need simple doors to walk through. She told him stories of rainbows, lemonade, and bike rides, painting a life beyond cages and colors even a dog could feel. With each tale, Brutus's tale gained courage, sweeping dust instead of stiff air, drawing half-moons on the concrete. Other visitors noticed, and rumors of the shepherd whisperer spread beyond the shelter, though Lily only smiled and shrugged. She insisted she was no whisperer, just a kid who understood that fear is a language too, and listening is the first answer. By Sunday, the cage that once crackled like static now hummed low with hope, and everyone wondered what the new week would bring. Monday began with a brave idea. Open the cage door while Lily stood nearby, armed only with her rabbit and a promise to stay calm. The staff assembled like a worried orchestra, each holding tools of safety, yet letting the girl lead with silent tempo. When the latch clicked, Brutus hesitated, nose quivering at the stripe of hallway light he had only seen through bars. Lily crouched sideways, avoiding direct stare, and tapped the floor twice, the same signal she used in her stories when heroes stepped outside. Slowly, the shepherd stepped out, legs stiff as new stilts, but he did not snarl. Instead, he sniffed Lily's shoe and exhaled hard. A cheer tried to burst from volunteers, but they swallowed it, fearing loud joy might shatter the fragile bridge just built. Lily walked him toward the exercise yard, leash trailing loose like a ribbon of trust, and Brutus followed, glancing back only once. Outside, grass brushed his paws for the first time in months, and the sky looked far wider than the concrete ceiling of his memory. He darted in a startled loop, then returned to Lily, parking himself at her side as though she were both anchor and compass. They played a gentle game of fetch using a soft rope toy. Each return ended with a pat and the word good. The simple praise echoed louder inside Brutus than any thunder he had ever barked against, filling the empty rooms of his heart. Midway through the session, a car backfired on the street, and Brutus lunged between Lily and the noise, hackles up, eyes blazing. For a breathless moment, everyone feared the old storm had returned, but Lily spoke one steady command, safe, and touched his shoulder. The dog looked at her, saw no panic, and lowered his guard, choosing her calmness over his old defense instincts. That decision felt like the ground signing a peace treaty with the sky, and the onlookers finally let out their held breath. Over the next hour, Lily taught him sit, stay, and come, each word paired with a treat and a smile wide as summer break. Brutus learned fast, eager to chase approval, and his tail now swung like a confident flag rather than a question mark. The director updated the red file, adding a bold blue note, shows promise under child supervision. Phones snapped photos, but Lily asked that none be posted yet, explaining that every story needs patience before the big reveal. In his evening painted long shadows, Brutus walked back to his kennel willingly, carrying the rope toy like a badge of honor earned. The shelter stopped calling Brutus untouchable, and Lily's dad submitted adoption papers before anyone else even asked. Background checks, home visits, and training plans followed, each step another rung on the ladder out of the dark pit where Brutus had lived. A week later, a crowd cheered his send-off. Volunteers waved squeaky toys while Lily clipped on a new blue collar, matching her backpack. Brutus rode in the back seat beside the rabbit toy, windows cracked so spring air could wash the kennel smell from his fur. Their yard was small but bright, lined with marigolds Lily planted for a science project, and Brutus sniffed every bloom respectfully. He explored each room, checking closets for ghosts of past chains, but found only stuffed animals and crayon drawings taped to doors. That night he paced until Lily laid her blanket near his bed and told him a bedtime tale about stars guarding brave travelers. She fell asleep mid-sentence, and Brutus finally rested, dreaming of fields where chains never existed. In the following days, Lily set clear routines: breakfast after sit, walk after heel, rest after gentle play, all written on a rainbow chart. Brutus thrived on structure, and even the mail carrier noticed, offering a biscuit without fear of losing fingers. Lily's school planned a show-and-tell hero day. She asked to bring Brutus with a trainer, and permission came with strict rules. On the big morning, the dog entered the classroom wearing a vest that said, "Learning Friend," tail wagging slow and steady. Students sat silent while Lily explained how love speaks louder than growls, and Brutus demonstrated a perfect sit on her soft command. A boy asked if the dog still bit. Lily answered, "He bites fear now, not people," a line that earned applause and eased many hearts. By recess, Brutus lay in the shade while kids read him funny poems, his ears flicking like pages turning. The principal, once against the visit, knelt to stroke his back, admitting that courage sometimes comes in small freckles and big paws. Local news aired a short segment titled "Little Girl Tames Big Heart," sparking donations to the shelter and interest in timid dogs. Lily reminded everyone it was not taming but meeting halfway, the same way bridges meet in the middle over water. Brutus returned home that evening tired but proud, curling by the door as if guarding the doorway to possibility. The house, once quiet, now echoed with gentle paw steps and the steady rhythm of two hearts learning a shared beat. Months passed in a blur of lessons and laughs, and Brutus's story grew like a mighty tree rooted in one simple act of kindness. Together they enrolled in a therapy dog class, Lily guiding him through weave poles and patience drills with the ease of a seasoned coach. Graduation day showed Brutus in a bright green bandana labeled Helper, standing tall as kids read books aloud. Lily noticed his eyes no longer darted at sudden sounds. Instead, they softened, reflecting trust like ponds catching morning light. At a retirement home, an elderly man who had not spoken in weeks whispered, "Good boy," when Brutus gently laid his head on fragile knees. Doctors called it a breakthrough, but Lily just called it listening, the same simple art that started everything. Brutus also visited the neighborhood where police once found him, showing residents that storms can become rainbows. A former neighbor cried to see the dog she once feared trot calmly beside a little girl in striped socks and scuffed sneakers. The shelter director invited Lily to speak at a pet care seminar, and she began with one sentence: "Fear is pain wearing armor." She said removing that armor takes patience, clear words, and the bravery to sit on a cold floor without guarantees. Brutus showed this by gently offering his paw to a nervous teen who left smiling and ready to volunteer the next weekend. News outlets tried to make Lily a tiny celebrity, yet she always shifted the spotlight back to animals still waiting for trust. Her family started a weekend reading program at the shelter, so shy dogs could hear kind voices long before adoption day arrived. Brutus served as ambassador, greeting each visitor with a wag that seemed to say, "I used to be invisible, and now I see you." Children who once feared big dogs gained courage, stroking his soft ears and thanking Lily for sharing her remarkable friend. On their evening walks, sunset painted the sidewalk gold, and Brutus matched Lily's step like beat and melody in one perfect song. When thunder boomed, he leaned close but stayed calm, trusting Lily's steady promise of safe more than the noise outside. Neighbors watched them pass, thinking of their own hidden storms and how maybe someone small could change them too. Lily often wondered if the stars keep count of miracles. If so, they surely noted the day she met Brutus and chose kindness. Each night he curled by her bed, dreaming of open fields, certain a little girl's love had turned the whole world gentle. One bright Saturday, the town park filled with booths for the annual Pet Heroes Fair, and Lily led Brutus to the main stage. Balloons bobbed overhead like gentle planets, while kids waved signs painted with paw prints and hopeful colors. Brutus wore his green helper bandana and a small medal the training class had given him, though he seemed proudest of Lily's smile. The mayor, holding a silver microphone, welcomed everyone and told the crowd how a frightened dog and a brave girl rewrote an old story. He handed Lily a framed certificate that read "Kindness Champion," and Brutus barked once, a sound now round and friendly, not sharp. Cameras flashed, but Lily knelt to whisper, Remember, buddy, today is about sharing our light, not showing off the metal. They moved to a reading tent where shy puppies circled and Brutus settled, inviting each little nose to touch his with quiet patience. A girl who stuttered gently read a poem to him, finding her rhythm in his steady eyes until the words flowed smooth like river water. Parents wiped tears, realizing confidence can bloom in the shade of a big dog's calm shadow faster than in bright crowds. Nearby, volunteers collected food donations, inspired by Brutus's journey to believe every scared animal deserves a fresh start. Lily hosted a short workshop teaching kids how to greet dogs safely, using simple steps: ask, wait, offer hand, and praise good choices. Brutus demonstrated each point, sitting tall, lying down, then rolling over with a playful huff that made toddlers giggle and clap. After lunch, Lily guided him to the veterans' booth, where an elderly soldier stroked Brutus's head and whispered stories of loyal war dogs. Brutus leaned in, sensing the man's quiet ache, and the soldier's shoulders relaxed as if a heavy pack had finally been set aside. The afternoon sun dipped, painting gold on every tail wag, and the fair announcer declared Brutus the event's heart-opener winner. Instead of trophies, Lily asked for extra leashes and chew toys to be sent back to the shelter for dogs still waiting behind bars. The crowd cheered that idea louder than any fireworks, proving generosity is a game everyone can win at the same time. As dusk cooled the park, Lily and Brutus walked home, the metal tinkling like a wind chime with each steady step. Passing the shelter, Brutus paused, giving a soft woof toward the building, as if promising the dogs inside their sunrise would come soon. And under the first evening star, Lily squeezed his neck and said, "See, big guy, nobody's untouchable when love leads the way."